Alright, so we've been getting a handful of requests from people that are looking in the background like neat old stuff like me. One of the requests we got was for some of the advertising stuff I have. So I'm always out digging around, picking at estates, going to estate auctions, flea markets, practically every waking moment that I'm not in the shop working or at work. I'm probably at a flea market or an old farm or something, trying to buy old junk, whether it's parts or whatever. So of course I find some neat old signs, and I got some pretty cool stuff I've acquired over the years, and quickly am filling the shop walls. So this corner back here, I got an old banner for an antifreeze, DuPont antifreeze sign, or banner rather, that I got. No real interesting story, just an estate auction I got it at. Here I have a old key sign for Ford starters. It says, "Don't wait until you lose your Ford key, get a duplicate key now. We have your number. Keys for all Ford starters." Pretty cool. I think it's late Model T era. Oh, actually, the year's here, I never looked. 1923. From Baltimore, Maryland. So yeah, it's a Model T era one, but it's pretty cool. I got an old Atlantic motor oil chart from 1932 to 1937. Shows you all the different oils and how much it takes for all the cars of that era. This old sign over here is a hand printed, like screened sign that they must have done in multiple colors with a stencil. It was made by Stanford Crowell Co. in Ithaca, New York. I bought 3 of these signs from a guy at Carlisle that he found them screwed to the side of a barn when he was at an estate auction, and he bought them. I bought them for way too cheap. I just happened to catch him as he was pulling them out of the bed of his truck. I walked maybe 20 yards away, and some guy was following me that I guess saw me buy them, and he was a sign collector, and he insisted on paying me a lot of money for them. He wanted all 3 of them, but I probably even gave them away too cheap, and I thought it was a lot of money. So I decided to keep the roughest one for me, sold the other ones. There was a thing that said gas up here. And I kept this one. I thought it was cool. I just like it. I'm not like a hardcore sign collector where I have the nicest stuff. I just keep interesting stuff. Up above here is an old KO bottling company sign, or actually like a cardboard sign. I got that actually. I went picking at my neighbor's house across the street from me at my old house, and his family owned a bottling company, and I guess they dealt with this company, and he had a handful of these signs, and I sold a couple of them. I kept this one for myself and framed it, and it's pretty cool. It's got a guy holding some chocolate milk and running, which is pretty neat. So we'll keep moving along here and show you the rest of them. Okay, so we got my bench here that was in the shop when I moved in, and I just moved it to here. Advertising wise, I guess it could fall into that realm. I have this little old case, not little, big case that I got from an old dairy farmer that had an ice cream store, and this was used in there, and I repurposed it. But I got all my old tag toppers and things of that sort in here, which I think are pretty cool. I've been slowly filling it up and try not to get duplicates. Just put up ones that I like that are inexpensive or I find in a neat place. I got this old Quaker State clock sitting up here that I got somewhere. I don't even remember where I got that. But it does still work, which is great. And even though I don't use it much for time, it's still pretty cool. And over on the top of the windowsill, I have some of my favorite oil cans that I've collected. I'm not a huge oil can collector, but I do keep some of the neat ones that I like or have some cool images on them. So there's a couple ones up there that are a little bit rare, I guess you could say, but I just think they're neat, and that window is basically useless, so I'll put some cans on it. So we'll move down to the next wall. Okay, so we went to the sidewall here where I have my smithy and bandsaw and stuff. Champion sign up there. It's pretty rough, but it's got a cool look to it. The estate that I got the Sweetheart Roaster from, actually, this was found in the field, laying upside down, and flipped it over, and they sold me this sign. It was an estate auction, and I got it for really cheap because I think, again, I like collecting these signs because I think they're neat. Excuse me, I'm not a real serious sign collector like some of these guys where I drop crazy money or need the most pristine signs. I thought it looked cool, and I think I paid like 20 bucks or something for it. So I wanted a big giant Champion sign. So until I find something nicer, I'm completely cool with that one. Next to it, I have just a couple old banners. I have some other ones in my house, and these are just kind of overflow. But I love the pagoda. It's in Reading, so that's an old pagoda, Reading little pennant. And I have an old Pennsylvania Turnpike one up there as well. That's kind of neat that I hung. And then, again, a few more oil cans that I found in my travels. And finally, a Traco light up little sign. That sign actually went on top of a display shelf unit originally. And I had the shelving unit. I got it at a place where the sewing mill that I've referred to in the other video. I actually found it in there. And the shelving unit just was really big, and it was something that I couldn't fit easily in my shop or make it usable. So I sold that, kept the little light up sign. It has a little bit of damage in the bottom, but it still lights up and looks cool. So that's the perfect spot for it. All right, and I'll move to the next corner. All right, now we're in the back corner where a bunch of the fab sheet metal tools and that kind of stuff are. Another 32 grill. I got this old a place that I went to buy some stuff at. I got this really neat old oil filter rack that says change. It's Atlas oil filters. Change oil, change filters, save wear, save money. It's pretty cool. Had all the racks in it. It was for the old cartridge filters, and I decided to repurpose it and put some of the oil cans that I find, smaller ones, in there. So I have that hung up there, and as I find different ones, I put them in there. Again, I don't spend a lot of money on this stuff, so it's not filled up because people usually pay stupid money for oil cans. Up above, we'll get a photo. I have a fender cover that's Wynn's friction proofing. It's pretty cool. Has some really neat. I thought the typography on it was kind of neat. So I have that hung up there. It's hard to see where you're at, but we'll show a photo. Up above me, I have a neat double-sided Quaker State motor oil porcelain sign. This would have hung originally from a little rack that was shaped about the same as the sign. I found this at a flea market that I do each summer that is like a ridiculously early bird flea market. You need to be there at like 3 a.m. or something like that, and people start shopping and setting up at like 3 or 4 a.m. all the way until it's light. So I bought this when it was still dark out. A guy rolled in, he had it on the trailer with some other parts that I wanted, and he got out of the truck to check his trailer, and I made a deal before he even put back into the spot, and my buddies were pretty mad because I scored that. Just right place, right time. It was really cheap. That's the only way I could probably afford a porcelain sign, is if I find it, really cheap. But that one's neat. It's double-sided. The other side's a little rough. That side's got some chips, but it looks cool. For me, it's pretty awesome. So I think that's all we got in this corner. We'll move to the center of the shop where some of the big signs are. Okay, so this is the back wall that kind of you see whenever you walk up to my shop, or if you're further away, you can usually spot this stuff pretty quick. So the first one is a big Golf. It's a plastic sign. I think it's dated like 76 or something like that on it. Again, I don't really care. I'm not that crazy of a sign collector, but I thought it was cool. Big, obnoxious sign. I got that sign. My dad and I were at an estate auction, and it was way up on the side of the guy's barn even higher than that is up in the air, and we screwed into the barn, and the auctioneer basically said, you got to get it down, and we're not helping, and there's no ladder. So the thing went for like, I think I paid $50 or something for it, and it was pretty darn cheap. And I just didn't care. I just said, I'll figure out a way. I don't care what we have to do. And it turned out there was a ladder on the property. Somebody else bought it, and we just borrowed this sketchy old wooden ladder and leaned it up against the building, and all I had was a hand screwdriver, and I took all the screws out as my dad yelled at me not to fall and held the ladder for me. And we got it down, strapped to the trailer, brought it here. I hooked up a bunch of cheap LED string lights. You can get on Amazon for real cheap. I think I have a set of 3 in there, and run around and hooked up, and so basically illuminates it. It's the half of the big one that you would have seen that would have been on the big pole at a gas station. That's what that would have been. So it's 1/2 of that. But I think it looks pretty cool. It looks appropriate on this monster walls in this place, so it doesn't really look out of place. One behind me is an old Atlantic gas porcelain sign. Has a little spot cut out of it at the T that some guys might turn their nose to, but I think it's pretty cool still. I went to my old house just a mile from there. There, again, was an estate auction. If you can't guess, I love estate auctions. There was a little one with nothing that interesting to me, but I decided to go anyways because it was like a mile or less from my house. Well, this sign wasn't advertised. When I got there early in the morning, they were going through the buildings one last time, and this sign on the other side of it is just white, and somebody hand-painted like fruit for sale ahead or something like that. And the family, I guess, was using it for just to display their fresh fruit that was out front of the farm back in the day. And when it was in one of the buildings, everybody thought that it was just an old piece of metal that was hand-painted. And then I guess somebody from the auction company happened to flip it over and saw that it was a pretty badass sign. They put it up for auction. Luckily, I was able to afford it because it wasn't advertised. So some of the crazy sign people didn't show up and bid it up obnoxiously. So I got a pretty good deal. I didn't steal it by any means, but I got a good price for it because these signs, normally I wouldn't be able to justify the money they go for. So that one's pretty cool. It fit really nicely between the toolbox and this screen cabinet here. We have Dino over there. Dino I found hanging from an old oil property that was an oil company. They did delivery of oil and they parked the tankers in the building. And Dino is an old Sinclair blow-up advertising thing that would have been in a gas station or whatever. He was hanging from the ceiling, and I pulled him down, and he's still got his vintage air in him, and he's pretty cool. So he sits up there. He's kind of a mascot, and you'll see him in the background quite often. The other sign is probably one of my newest signs. It's a pretty big, I think it's late 50s, early 60s. I forget the date that's on it. Kelly Tires, Kelly Springfield Tires sign. That sign actually I picked from the back. Well, it's been kicking around forever, but I picked that sign basically from Eastwood. I've worked at Eastwood for 7 years or more now, and that sign's been getting moved around the warehouse for years. And finally, now that I got this new shop, I talked to Kurt, the owner, and said, hey, I'd like to buy that sign, and he kind of half forgot about it. And he likes to bust my chops and give me a hard time, which is great. And we negotiated back and forth, and eventually he agreed to sell me, and we agreed on a price and let me take it home. He told me that he bought this sign. He's not a sign collector by any means. When Eastwood was doing shows more frequently, back in the heyday of Carlisle, he said he bought that at Carlisle. He just thought it was neat. He was going to use it for a wall hanger in the old store or something, and he bought it, never used it, kind of half forgot about it. Knowing Kurt, he's not a sign collector, so he probably bought it for really cheap because it was before signs were bringing the kind of money they are. Probably back in the 80s, I would guess that he bought it. And yeah, it's in really, really phenomenal shape for what it is. and I thought it would fit perfectly right there, and I hung it, and it's at the spot. So we got a couple more things, and we'll be it. So we'll move to the other corner and show you the last handful of stuff. All right, real quick one. In this corner, this is, I think, actually my newest sign that I got. This is an old Ford Gasket sign. It's got the little cutouts or outlines rather for the gaskets. I got this at a place I was invited to come pick at. That the guy that used to collect there was really into Model A, Model T, and brass era car stuff. And he didn't have a ton of advertising stuff, but this was left over. The people there, the guy that was nice enough to let me in there, he knew what everything was. I wasn't going to steal anything, and he had a fair price on it. So I ended up buying probably a whole truckload of stuff, and I worked it into the deal, and ended up working out. I got it for a really good price after I sold a handful of things and kept some stuff. So I was really happy. I just thought it was neat because it's got the outline. It's an unusual one, and I just hung this up probably a couple weeks or a month ago. So now I got to find some gaskets. I might order some reproduction gaskets and hang them on there to kind of complete the look. But yeah, I'm pretty happy to get that one. All right, so this wall over here has a bunch more trinkets and things. So on the shelf here, we'll get a better shot of it, but I got a bunch of oil cans and advertising stuff there. Some pretty neat little ones that I've collected over the years in my travels. Behind me, directly right here, we have the bottling company cardboard sign that I showed you earlier. This came from the same place. Again, like I said, they're a bottling company, so they had a bunch of advertising stuff just kicking around. This one was getting pretty rough. Probably another couple of years and this thing would have been completely gone. I pulled this out of one of the barns. It's a Wonder Orange Soda, and it's a thermometer, which is pretty cool. And actually, the darn thing still works. I think it says, where are we at, 67, 68. It's pretty close for how old it is, which is pretty incredible that the thermometer glass wasn't broken. So I hung that up there. I have a little 50 years of service AAA sign, no big deal. This one up above is pretty cool. It's a Peak antifreeze banner that is 1940s, early 40s, I would say, early to mid 40s banner, and it's got a cool look to it. And this banner is actually free. I met a guy at Hershey, an older guy that I just struck up conversation. And we had a really nice conversation. Turns out he only lived one town over from me, even though we were 2 hours or hour and a half from where I lived. And we got to talking, blah, blah, blah. He mentioned he was moving and had a lot of stuff. Unfortunately, he wouldn't let me come to his property. He was kind of secretive about his stuff to shop or buy stuff. But he said, which I thought was kind of odd, so let me get your phone number and your address, and I'll contact you if I find anything. Then, fast forward a month, I got a package in the mail randomly from this gentleman, and inside was this banner all rolled up and stuffed in with like a little note that said, "I hope you enjoy. Thanks." And that was it. I tried calling him a bunch of times, never could get a hold of him. I was trying to buy some more stuff from him. He never did answer my calls, call me back, or even to allow me to thank him. So, really cool. Just goes to show, if you meet somebody that's into little cars, make conversation with them. You never know what could happen. You might find a good lead on something, or you might just get a good deed and get something free. So, that's I've had that one for a little while. That's pretty cool. So, we'll move over, and I think that's the last few things, and then we're done. Alright, so the last couple of things we have here in the shop as far as advertising goes. We have a little Atlas grip safe tire sign that's never been used. That sign's pretty neat. It goes actually inside the center of a tire, and then you bend the little tabs over, and it kind of sits in the tire on the showroom floor. Pretty neat. Not really valuable, but I just thought it was neat that it hadn't been ever used. So I just got it hanging there. I don't know if that's the best place for it, but it's up out of the way and it looks cool. The only other thing is back there behind me, and we can get a better shot. That is a poster. We're advertising framed print that says the new Ford Tudor sedan. As far as I can tell, it's original. And even though I'm not really into Tudors, I still think it's kind of neat because it's that old and it's been in that great a shape. And it came in the frame that I found it in, and I just hung it there. It's kind of cool to have something to think of that was out around when the when they were coming out. That poster survived all these years, and I can hang it in here. So that's the spot I got it sitting there right underneath the lights. It's pretty cool, and I kind of dig it. So that's all I got for all the signs and advertising stuff that's noteworthy inside the shop, and a couple of stories about how I found some of this stuff. I hope you guys found it interesting, and some of you guys were asking to see that, got to see it, and could enjoy the stuff as much as I do. So thanks guys for watching. I'll catch you next time.